What's good, everyone? Today we're here for round one AFL tips and predictions. We're finally sort of properly starting the season now. I know opening round was last week, but it didn't really feel genuine, even though I went to the games. You can watch the vlog up there. It sort of felt like a Mickey Mouse sort of competition. It didn't feel like it was truly the AFL, and we're finally here for all 9 games. This is sort of what the fans really want, and I apologise. This video is out on the Wednesday because I was obviously in Sydney for opening round. I was in Sydney for an extra day and I didn't actually bring my backup mic. So what I'll do, if I ever am in the situation where I have to record my tips abroad or in another city, I'll make sure to do that so the tips can be out on the Tuesday, because I like to get them out on the Tuesday. Let's just go through my tipping competition. Now, we just had the 2 games, but if you haven't already joined it, we do have prizes up for grabs. There are currently 700 members already, and that's only after like less than the first week. So the prizes, I haven't fully confirmed it yet. The first prize will be $400, and like in previous other years, I'll have like probably 2nd, 3rd, 4th, maybe 5th place, possibly a mid-season prize. And I'll also have other things, like maybe I'll give away a Sharon instead of like a money for the 3rd prize. So join the comp. There will be prizes probably fully revealed over the next few weeks. Still finalizing a few things. And there is also a fantasy comp as well to join. And there's also a few other competitions as well if you're a member. So just stay tuned if you are a member. Now, for my tipping comp, I had 82 people get a perfect score. So it's a great week to get a perfect score. It was a hard week to get a perfect score, but a great week. Shannon Humphries. Why, mate? Why are you using your double point joker in the first week when there are only just the 2 games? Don't rush your jokers yet. Obviously, yeah, it wasn't a great week for me with a few games being postponed. Couldn't get a single one right. So a Sydney incorrect tip. I tipped them by 20. Hawthorn got the job done by 20. And I went Collingwood, even though I actually originally tipped GWS. My big calls were also terrible. You can see them up on screen. It was an absolute farce. So people that watch these videos, you know, wanting to see my insight, clearly I don't give great enough insight, as I'm currently bottom 26% in the whole league. Crap start. However, it was a bit of a hard one. I feel like both games were probably upsets with the tipsters, so I'm not too ashamed of my start. Let's just hope round 1 can be a little bit different. Now, like in previous years, the footy tipping punishments will be back starting round 1. So comment down below a punishment you want to see me do that I will complete if I don't get 3 or more big calls in this video. Now, remember, you can't just comment down anything and expect me to do it. I do have the final say. So whilst the comment might get the most likes, if I feel like it's not appropriate enough, if it's too much money to spend, like too expensive, or something that will get me in trouble, it's just not going to get done. And I'll just give it to the next most liked comment or the most liked comment after that. So think of some creative punishments, ones that'll be funny to see me do on stream, ones that, you know, will be kind of embarrassing. You know, here are some punishments that I've done over the last few years, which I found quite funny. Comment away, and if I don't complete all of these by the end of the year, October 31st, 2025, then I will be eating the world's hottest chili live on stream. Just the whole fucking thing. I don't even care. Now, one last thing I'm going to be announcing ahead of the season is starting this year, I'm going to be doing a bit of an award show at the end of the year where I get the fans to do the 3-2-1 votes for every single game. So for only the 2 games opening round, we've already gotten a heap of votes, but if you want to contribute, the link will be down in the description. There'll be a Google Forms where you can vote for the best players throughout the week. And I won't be revealing them until we head to the end of the season. And then I'll do my own live stream where I go through the vote counts one by one. And I think it'll be fun. It'll be like something similar to the Brownlow. I'll call it the Cardi medal. I think it'll be good fun. So if you want to be involved, every week I'll be putting in the votes that will close by the start of the first game that round. I wouldn't mind getting 44,000 subscribers by the end of the month. I think we can certainly get that done. But if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. If you've been watching the videos, I'll be doing the weekly tips and all the other footy content. Hit that subscribe button and let's get straight into the tips. All right, let's open the account now with the tips. And we're starting things off with Richmond, Carlton at the MCG. The true season opener for a lot of people. And thank God Richmond are playing. Surely I can guarantee myself a tip here. I won't be going to this game, so expect a live stream. But look, Richmond are $10 to win this game. I haven't seen Richmond this high in the odds for a season opener, let alone even Carlton in, I don't think, ever. So I think it's a pretty simple tip here. We all know where Richmond are at heading into this season. It's a full-on rebuild. They've got heaps of young talent coming through, but they're just going to be just too immature to get enough wins. And we saw their preseason. They just didn't look match fit enough. They got fatigued really quickly. We could see a similar thing in this game. I know Prestia won't be playing. I'd hope Tom Lynch comes back into the side. I think he's possibly touch and go. I know Laylor is going to make his debut, so that's going to be exciting for the Richmond fans. I think he'll have a pretty impressive game. But for the most part, Richmond just don't have the quality enough to compete with most sides in the comp, but particularly not the Blues. I know Charlie Curnow will be out of the side, but it shouldn't matter. I still think Harry Mackay can step up in this one and can kick a big bag if he really wants to. And honestly, if they're serious this year, they're not just going to want to win this game. I feel like they'd want to win this game well. Get off to a good start. Maybe start the season top on percentage for 2025 and just absolutely pants the Tigers, because I think they're capable. I just don't know if that's going to happen. And I feel like Richmond, especially first round, they're going to want to come out as well with a bit of intensity, and they're not going to want to be absolutely embarrassed, which I don't think will happen. They'll have some good patches to play, but I think overall it'll just be too hard to stop the Blues. So I'll be tipping Carlton by 52 points in this game. With my big call, the two new debutants in Sam Laylaw and Lucas Camporelli, they'll both combine for 2 or more goals. The next game we have on Friday night, this is a big one. Essendon taking on Hawthorn. We've seen these two sides play round one quite a lot over the last few years, but not on Friday night. And finally, Hawthorn have gotten the rights to play Friday night footy. Do the Bombers deserve it? Well, I think they can give it a red-hot crack, to be honest. Now, this will be the first game this season that I'll be going to in Melbourne, even though I haven't actually got tickets yet. So let me know, if the game's sold out, does anyone have spare tickets? I feel like the game shouldn't be sold out, but it wouldn't really surprise me, to be honest with you. Hawthorn, first game back in Melbourne. Essendon, a lot of fans would be excited to see how they start their campaign. Kako will be making his debut. I just feel like Hawthorn, they're primed for these sort of games. They torched Sydney, especially in the middle of the ground. I think they won the clearance count by 14. Don't show my big call on the screen. That was pathetic. Obviously led by Will Day. He had the man of the match performance. Carl Amon was strong. And Lloyd Meek as well, another top contributor. But if the Bombers, I said it earlier, if they can bring in the form that we saw during the preseason, which I thought they were quite impressive, then we could be in for a thrilling contest. And it will just be a question, I guess, how long the Bombers can keep up. Because I feel like the Hawks, they'll be up for it. They're going to be a really strong side this year. They might almost be the premiership favourites. It wouldn't surprise me. They haven't had the greatest past run in previous outings against Essendon, but I think it's going to change this year, you would think. I think the Hawks are going to score really freely under the lights Friday night, and I think they're going to run over the top of the Bombers in the last quarter to get a relatively big win. I'm saying the Hawks win by 38 points Friday night footy. My big call will be that the Hawks kick 65 or more points in any half. Next game we have on the Saturday. This is the first game, Saturday afternoon footy. Geelong take on Fremantle. Could be set for a really close matchup. This is one that I think I'm going to also go to, or maybe not go to, I'll live stream it. I'll certainly be watching it because I think this is going to be a great matchup. Both sides could be set for top 4 footy. I like the look of Fremantle's side heading into this season, although they might be without a few players. There might be no Bolton. He's having a few injury concerns heading into this one, just some niggles, possibly no Pearce. I know Walters, I don't think is playing, no Draper, no Young, no Darcy. So they actually have a few more injury concerns than what we may have originally thought. I don't know if anyone's noticed this already, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be like one of the hottest games, if not the hottest game on record. 37 degrees it could get to in Geelong, which obviously is going to be a big factor in the game for the plays. They're going to be fatigued. Are they going to be suited to the conditions? I'm not sure, which is kind of funny considering the Cats were meant to play last week in Brisbane in cyclone weather. They're not postponing 2 games in a row, but they should have played the Cats last week. Not going to lie, they really should have played. I'm excited to, see how Bailey Smith goes in his new colours. I didn't really get a good look of him at all during the preseason. But even though this is obviously played GMHBA and it's not a happy hunting ground for most sides, Freo can play this ground well. We've seen them in previous occasions actually beat the Cats. I think the last 2 games they've won. They're not going to be afraid to play here, I don't think. And I think the Cats probably are going to be struggling in the midfield department. I think Freo are going to get on top. Despite there being no Young and Darcy, they'd very much hope Alex Pearce is fit for this and plays. And I think they're going to potentially get on top in the forward line, the Dockers. But the heat's going to be a bit of a factor. And I just think it's the first game of the season for Geelong. They rarely lose at GMHBA, but they almost never lose round 1 at GMHBA. So this will be a good game. Maybe a bit low scoring due to the weather potentially, or more uncontested actually. That should be a better way of putting it. I am going to still back in the Cats. I just think the Cats, they're the safe tip. Even though the Dockers have gotten the upper hand the last 2 times, and I've obviously not tipped the Dockers in any of those games, I'm going to say the Cats get up here in a good way by 8 points. My big call, I'm going to say that Luke Ryan and Jordan Clark combined for 16 or more marks. Next game, we have Sydney take on Brisbane for the grand final rematch. A grand final rematch that I feel like isn't getting any hype at all anymore. Like, maybe it's because of the way the Swans played last week. I'm not sure, but no one's really talking this game up too much, and maybe it's fair. I mean, Sydney, they were really disappointing last week for most of the game at least. They had a good bit of play in the third quarter, especially as well as early in the first, but they were just outplayed. They just didn't get enough output from their plays, especially I feel like up forward. I know Amadi had a few goals. McCartan just didn't provide enough. I just didn't think they brought out the same intensity as Hawthorn did, and they were missing Gould in the midfield because they got outclassed big time. So it's going to be a hard one because Brisbane arguably have the best midfield in the competition, but we don't know how the Lions are going to come out first round, because in previous occasions, the Lions haven't started seasons off typically well. I don't think they have gotten a win that I can remember in the last few years. And this is a game as well, the SCG. The Swans surely don't want to go 0-2. They've got to get a response because they go 0-2 to start the season, especially at home. Then they play Freo away. That's season over. Like, they're not going to do a Brisbane this year, so don't even worry about trying to challenge for final. So I'm expecting an angry Dean Cox to really bounce back and make a statement, get his men to actually play out a full game here. And I think the Swans, even though most are tipping Brisbane, I'm going to go against the grain here, and I'm just going to have faith in Sydney one more time. Even though I don't think the Swans are going to have the best year, only because it's at the SCG. Although I'm saying that last week it didn't make any difference. So I'll go Sydney by 19. And my big call, I'm going to go Brisbane to score 15 or more behind. I think that could be one way Sydney stay in the game. We do have a double header in Melbourne for the Saturday night. We'll start off with Collingwood v Port Adelaide. This will be an interesting one because Collingwood, they disappointed the whole country. Well, you say the whole country. I think a lot of people were happy to see them lose.
What was one good thing that happened to you yesterday afternoon?
Collingwood lost.
You know, they started the game really inaccurate. I think they were 1-8 at one stage, but they just couldn't keep up with the rest of the game, and they were just slow, sluggish. They seemed disinterested, couldn't keep up to the pace of the Giants, and yeah, I know they had a few concerns. I think Nick Dacos had the cramp issues, which obviously didn't help. Jeremy Howe didn't play out the rest of the game, and Josh Dacos could be a possible out heading to this game alongside also Jeremy Howe, so they do have a few injury concerns possibly. I'd hope for Collingwood's sake they can get back into gear because they look strong in the preseason, and I look like a complete dickhead now putting them to win the premiership. I've got still no clue how Port are going to perform in 2025. It's really hard to get a read on sides because preseason doesn't give you everything, and they could do what I said and finish 14th. They could end up finishing top 4. I think they can beat the Pies, especially with the game they played last week. I think they can get into their heads. I believe a lot of Port fans are making a trip to Melbourne for this one as well, so they'll have a bit of fanfare for that one. Obviously, Collingwood will have the stronger home ground advantage, but I'm still not going to back it in Port Adelaide. I just don't have the faith because they haven't been able to do it in recent years where they've still been pretty solid. Last year, they got belted. I think the year before they got belted, so it's been a while since Port Adelaide have beaten Collingwood. I think 2021 maybe at the MCG, so I think they'll get close. I think this will actually be a pretty solid game, but I'm just going to back in Collingwood. Last week was concerning. Surely Nick Dacos will be back, and they've got Houston against his former side. You forget about that. He's going to provide so much more run and carry off halfback. I think he's going to have a massive game. He's going to want to play well, and I think he could almost be part of the reason why they do win. So I'm going to say Collingwood win this game by 18 points with Dan Houston to record 115 or more fantasy points. Next game, we do have Marvel Stadium, North Melbourne take on the Western Bulldogs. Now, I think this is probably the game I will be going to of the two Saturday night games, and it could be a really underrated game because we haven't seen too many blockbusters between these two sides in recent years. It's always been the Bulldogs that have been getting the big wins, but this could be different. North, they need to make a statement this season, and what better way to make a statement than to knock off the Dogs in opening round? I think they've been able to do so in previous seasons where they've been able to get off to early starts. They might have that sugar hit period, and I think they're ready to start making some decent scalps, and it's the perfect time of year to play the Dogs. Obviously, they have a lot of injury concerns heading to this game. They might have a couple players back. I think Bailey Dale, Ed Richards could be back for this game. But like North Melbourne, they trade away their first round pick now for this season to Richmond. So, you know, they've got no excuses now. They're going to want to start seeing some results. And their injury list is next to nothing. So they really can't be making any excuses heading to this one. They've got Rory Lobb, but for the most part, I haven't really got too much faith at the moment without Liam Jones in the Bulldogs defence, especially if Dale Richards isn't back. So I haven't really gone for many upsets at all so far in the tips. And I feel like North of the side, they could possibly, you know, get a result here. I know almost everyone's going the Bulldogs, so it's a risk, but I'm going to say North Melbourne. First game, first round, they're off to a strong start, and the Bulldogs from that point onwards, it's just going to be a hard season. So let's go North Melbourne by 13. O'Sullivan's also going to be playing as well, so hopefully he gets a really positive start to his career. And my big call, I'm going to go Jack Darling and Nick Larkey combined for 6 or more goals. We head to Sunday and we start early, 12:35, Adelaide, St Kilda. Probably shouldn't be making the trip to this game because it doesn't look like we're going to win. And you look at the tipsters percentage, 94% are going Adelaide, which almost seems too much, but there's a fair reason. I think this is going to be a really hard task for the Saints with injuries on all three lines. They are going to get a few players back, so I don't know how many people know this, but Marshall will be playing, Sinclair will be playing. That's going to help us a lot. But even with those two ins, I just think, even if we had a fully fit list, I still think this would be a hard one. Crows looking fit and fire, and they literally have no injuries on their injury list. And they're going to be a hard side to stop at home this year. I think they're going to be set for a top 8 finish. I'm really liking the look of the Crows heading into this year. I think the new recruits are going to gel really well for them. And up forward, I think they're going to be one of the hardest sides to stop. And I know we haven't really got the best defence at the moment because obviously no Battle, and Howard's going to be out for the first 7-8 weeks. So I still feel like we'll be okay in the defence. I just think up forward, that's going to be where the weaknesses come, because obviously Membry isn't playing for us anymore. King won't be in the side for the first few weeks. Butler's now out, and Sharman, so he's one player that would have filled the void. He's out for the first few weeks. So I can't even see where our key forwards are going to get goals from. I think Caminiti, Marshall and Boyd, they're going to have to rotate up forward. Higgins needs a big day. Can we actually score any season? Because it's looking like it's not going to happen in this game. I just think it's going to be the Crows in this one. Even though I want to be optimistic, they're just going to be the more dangerous side. And I think they're going to want to get off to a really strong start, knowing what's on the line for someone like Matthew Nicks. He's gone 5 years now, I think, without playing final. So I think they're going to feast potential on the Saints. But I don't think the Saints will get smashed. I think under Ross Lyon, I find it difficult for St Kilda to get smashed in too many games. And I know we've been beaten up badly the last two times we played at the Adelaide Oval. But yeah, look, I'll go Adelaide. It could be like what happened in round 1, 2023. I remember that game when no one had any faith in the Saints with all our injuries, and we still had a way of winning. But I don't think the Saints are going to surprise me too much here. We'll go safe again, and I think Adelaide should win, and possibly well. We'll go Adelaide by 29 points with my big call that there'll be no player to score more than 2 goals. Next up, we have Melbourne take on the Giants at the MCG. I originally was probably going to be in favour of the Ds heading into this game, as they do tend to perform well in this fixture, and obviously the Giants had a few outs in the start of the season, but it's harder to see that being the case now that the Giants dished up last week. I'm not going to lie. I mean, Green could even potentially make a surprise return heading into this game, which would be massive for the Giants. How good was Finn Callahan last week? He was absolutely outstanding. Sam Taylor down back was just as solid as ever. Josh Kelly had a really good game, and Toby Green seemed to be bringing back bits of his best back. So it was just GWS everywhere over the Pies. They seemed way too quick for them. They had heaps of numbers free. It's going to be hard for the Ds to get up. I mean, they are going to be a side that are going to go into this game with a lot of optimism. A lot of Ds fans have huge signs of optimism heading into this season. They're only $2.05 in the odds, but 14% of tipsters are going for them. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Ds can get up in this game. It'll be really exciting to see how Oliver and Petrarca go. They had some strong pre-seasons, and even though I'm not fully buying it, I feel like something's going to go wrong for either one or both plays. I'm excited. If they can have big games in this one, then they could have every chance of winning. Langford will be making his debut as well. Briggs is going to be out for this game through the concussion protocol, so that means that Lockie Keefe will be going against Max Gordon. So they could really get that advantage possibly going in the midfield if Green doesn't play, potentially. But I just feel like the Giants, they'll have a little bit more edge. They'll have a little bit more X factor. I think they've just overall got more X factor on their list, and they'll have a bit more speed and play down the wings of the MCG. They like to do that. And I think it's going to be a good game and a surprising crowd. There might be more than you would expect because it's round 1. But I just think as well with the forward line of Melbourne, I know Van Rooyen's playing, but there's no Cozzy Pickett. And I just think overall they've got a little bit of a weakened forward line. So I think this will be a good game. I think the Ds are going to compete well, and I think Petrarca and Oliver are going to have some good games. But I'm just going to lean on the Giants here after last week, and they should be winning this game, I still think. So I'm going to go the Giants to win this game. Good one, though. 7 points. My big call is that the crowd will exceed 25,000. Final game of the round, we have, last but definitely not least, West Coast Gold Coast. I think this is a round 1 fixture we've seen quite a lot of times, especially the last game of the round, and I think this could also be the closest game of the lot. I'm looking forward to this one. I might even stream it up in Adelaide potentially. It's a really important game, though, for both sides to get off to a strong start, especially with Gold Coast, because, I mean, they couldn't play last week against Essendon, and I would have expected them to have gotten a win. So they wouldn't want to start the season losing, especially against West Coast, who I can't see finishing outside like the bottom 2 or 3. They just got to get an away win early on the Suns. Not just, gain the trust of the rest of the competition, the fans, all that, but also themselves. Like, give themselves belief that, geez, we can win away from home and we can do it early on in the season. I know they're only playing West Coast, but last year, we saw what happened in that game. They just got outworked in the last quarter especially, and it was really disappointing. They just didn't have the maturity to get up in a game like that. West Coast ran over the top of them, and that possibly could have even costed them a final spot. So these are the sort of games that will cost Gold Coast final spots if they can't get wins. I know they're not going to be without Mac Andrew and Sam Flanners for this week, but I still think without them that should be enough for a win. I know with the Eagles though, they had a solid pre-season getting the 2 wins. They are back at home, round 1 with fans and against Gold Coast. They'll have every chance of thinking they could win this game, but I just think the Suns need this game more. And if they're mature enough, if they've improved in any way, shape or form from 2024 to 2025, then that would mean they win this game. But I actually think this is going to be a really close one. But the Suns, which they don't do very often, but they're going to get a close win. And I'm going to say the Suns win this game by 3 points. My big call, the Suns win the game after trailing at three-quarter time. Okay, so to just quickly recap my tips for round 1. We obviously had to go the Blues for 52. Hawthorn, Geelong, Sydney, North Melbourne. So they're probably the 2 ones against the grain, you could say. I've gone the Pies, I've gone Adelaide, I've gone GWS, and I've gone Gold Coast, and I've gone a beer. Those are my tips for round 1. Let me know your tips down below, and give me your punishments as well in the comments. And the most liked punishment, that's obviously the most appropriate, might be a thing I do in the next few weeks. We're trying to get to 44k by the end of March, so do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. But we'll see you very soon in the next video.